let's do example 2. So once again, we ask our 3 questions. First question, is it occurring equally in guys and girls? Yep, guys, girls, they're everywhere. So we know that it's autosomal. Next question that we need to ask, does it ever skip a generation? No, pretty much if a parent gets it, it looks like their kids do. But let's double check. Is it ever happen where both parents have it, but their kids do not? And we see that right here. We see that both of these parents have it, but a child doesn't. So that tells us that it is dominant. This is an autosomal dominant pedigree. Next thing we need to do is fill in those genotypes. So everybody who's shaded in, because we know it's dominant, we're going to use a capital letter. And once again, I'll just use A as an example. So this individual is going to have an A. Alright, example 3. Let's do this really fast. Once again, it occurs in boys and girls, so that tells me it's autosomal. And we see that it occurs a lot. It doesn't really skip generations. That's my first clue that it's dominant. Second clue is right here. Both parents have it, but they have a child who doesn't. So this is autosomal dominant. As an autosomal dominant, we know that everybody who is shaded in is going to have a capital letter. Let's do example 4. First question that we're going to ask is, does it occur in boys and girls? In this case, no, it only occurs in boys. So that's going to tell us that it's X-linked, or sex-linked, you could use that term as well. And it's going to be recessive. The only examples I'll give you in class for X-linked are recessive, because otherwise everybody gets it. It looks really messy and it's very confusing. So we're going to focus on X-linked recessive. So this could be, for example, color blindness. First thing you're going to do is fill out the X and Y chromosomes for everybody. Here's another example of a trait that is X-linked and recessive. We know that because it's occurring in only boys and because it's definitely skipping some generations here. So this boy is going to be X, little b. Why? The recessive means that we're going to use lowercase letters for everybody who's shaded in. So that means everybody who's not shaded in has to have at least one copy of a capital letter. I think that's everybody. So what we're going to do next is we are going to fill in those genotypes, but we have to work backwards. So this individual got their little a's from somewhere. One had to come from mom, one had to come from dad. So we know the genotypes of those parents. And then we look here. This individual and this individual had to get their little a's from somewhere, so one from mom and one from dad. Now let's look at these individuals. They got their big A. The only way they could have gotten that was from dad. So what do they have to have as their second allele? A little a. Same for here. Now we've got 2 individuals that we haven't figured out yet. Dad could be big A, or big A, little a. We don't know which one that is. You can either write it just like this, or you can write A dash. Same with this wifey right down here at the bottom. We know that she's big A. We have no idea what her second allele would be until they would have kids. So for now, we'll just write A dash. Everybody who's not shaded in then would be little a, little a. It's the only way that they wouldn't get this dominant trait. Now let's start working our way backwards to fill in the other half of a lot of these A's. So once again, these guys had to get their little a. One could come from mom. Where does the other one have to come from? Dad. He could have given them his good A, the big capital A, but 50-50 chance, he just happened to give them all his little a allele. Then let's go back and let's try and figure out this guy right here. So both parents have a copy of big A, and here they have a son who's little a, little a. One of those had to come from dad, and the other one had to come from mom. So this guy, we don't know. He could have gotten both big A's, he could have gotten a big A and a little a, so we're going to write A dash, because we don't know what that second one is, and it doesn't really matter. Let's do this one. Oops, same for this individual right here. Over here, they're A something. We know they got their big A from dad. What's the only thing they could have gotten from mom? A little a, because that's all she had to give. Let's look at this parent. We know they're big A because they have the dominant trait, but somehow they passed on these little a's. One could come from mom. Where does the other have to come from? From dad. So we know that he is big A, little a. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I know it's hard when you get to a dominant pedigree to know what to do with that second letter, if it's a big A or a little a, but if you start at the bottom and work your way up, hopefully that'll make a little bit more sense for you. Alright, since it's recessive, let's use a lowercase b to mark everybody who is colorblind. So this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. That means everybody who's not filled in is going to have at least one copy of capital B. Let's figure out what the rest of this is, because this female could have a big B or a little b there. We're not sure, so let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So this guy here, he got his Y chromosome from Dad. He had to get his color blindness chromosome, the X little b, from somewhere. That came from Mom. Guys, you always get to blame your mom if it's an X-linked disorder. So we shaded her in because she's a carrier. She looks normal, but she carries that color blindness. So that's that one. Do the same thing over here. He got his Y chromosome from Dad, so Dad couldn't give him the X chromosome. He got the Y from Dad. He had to get that little b from Mom. Blame your mother. So we know she's a carrier. Now this girl, she got one copy of X big B from Mom. What did that leave Dad to give her? He could only give her his X little b. If he gave her a Y, she wouldn't be a girl. So he gave her X little b. So we know she's big B, little b. She's also a carrier. She could pass that on to her kids. Here, the guy gave this girl his X big B. He could not give her his Y, so we know that he gave her the big B. So where did her little b come from? It had to come from her mom, up here. So this woman is also a carrier. Going back over here, same thing. Except we know that Dad could have given the daughter this little X little b chromosome. That's what he gave her. Mom could have given her this big B, but it's also a chance that Mom might also have a little b there. We don't know, so we're going to put a dash. X big B X dash, because we're not 100% sure. Over here, same thing. Dad could have given her this chromosome, or Mom, but the girl's got two options. We don't know. X big B X dash. And we know that they got it from their mothers. That always happens, so we can automatically fill in, hey, Mom's a carrier there and there. And we know that this guy does not have it, so he's X big B Y. We know he doesn't have it because he's not shaded in, so therefore we can use capital letters. And then here, X big B Y. And that's really all we need to know for now. And that this parent is X big B X dash. Okay? All we really need to know for now is just those. Who is carrying it and passing it on? And I don't want to have to fill out all of these because that would be pretty tedious. Let's move on and talk about example 6. Can you see example 6? Yes, example 6. Okay, so here, first question, does it occur in boys and girls? Girl, girl, boy. Yes, so we know it's autosomal. Next thing, does it skip generations? Yup, these guys don't have it, these guys don't have it, and then suddenly it shows up again. So this is a recessive trait. Two parents don't have it, but their kids do. Autosomal recessive, that means I'm going to use little letters for everybody who's shaded in. Remember, these kids had to get their two B's, one from each parent. So one goes here, one goes here. Each of these parents are heterozygous. Then, let's go up from there. Where did they get it from? Well, could have come from Mom, could have come from Dad. We don't know. We know they got one of their big B's from one of those. So we're not 100% sure here. And then let's go up even further. If this dad had to give his kids a little b, Mom had to give them their big B, so all of these kids are going to have at least one big B, but Dad had to give them a little b. So we know for a fact now that this guy is big B, one from Mom, and little b, because that's all Dad had to give. So all of these kids are heterozygous, big B, little b. Now Mom, do we know her? Not so much. She could have just given all of her kids her copy of big B, so she could be big B, big B. 100% of her kids are going to look like that. Perfect mixture, Mom and Dad. She could also be big B, little b, and just never have passed that on. It's entirely possible. So we're going to leave her as big B dash. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Last thing down here, some really quick clues to help you figure out pedigrees. If it skips a generation, it's recessive. If two parents don't have it, but a child does, recessive, just like we saw up here. If it shows up in just one gender, it's X-linked. If two parents have the trait, but their child does not, then it's dominant. I can spell. All right, hopefully that helps you guys with all of these genetics problems and Punnett squares and pedigrees. Good luck on your test tomorrow, and I'll see you in class. So first thing you're going to ask are those 3 questions. Number 1, does it occur equally in guys and girls? In this case, the answer is yes, so that tells us that this trait is autosomal. Next thing we need to ask is, does it ever skip a generation? If we look and look, ooh, right here. Neither of these parents have it, but they passed it on to their kids. That tells us that it's recessive. So this trait is autosomal recessive. Knowing that, now we can start filling in the genotypes.